The At Your End Step podcast is brought to you by ComicTown. Check them out at www.comictown.net and search for ComicTown Gaming Center on Facebook. Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Dave.
All right.
And Mike. Apparently Dave is now Matthew McConaughey.
So, Hunter, I have to go with, what do I want to do here? How do I go about this?
Time's a flat circle, man.
I got to get, Oscar award-winning, Matthew McConaughey to show the difference in time, right? I've been to space, traveled through some wormholes. I wouldn't recommend any of it.
It's not what he won an Oscar for.
No, I know. I never watched Dallas Buyers Club.
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of the Joker, so.
I'm just going to talk about my Lincoln and how much I enjoy driving it and taking long thoughts while I do so and driving at night. So,
if you've never seen the Jim Carrey parody of those,
it's amazing.
Probably the best work Jim Carrey's done in the last decade.
But this is a magic podcast, so let's get on track with that. Not a Matthew McConaughey podcast, which I'm sure exists.
Yeah, it's out there somewhere.
But
in space.
It's not.
We could do
here.
a Magic Matt podcast. Today we're taking a look at the Matthew McConaughey film Sahara.
Oh.
Let's not.
Yeah.
Please come back. I'm kidding. Don't turn it off. We're not talking about that.
So lots of stuff to talk about. We had PAX, and PAX obviously just gave us a ton of Battle for Zendikar stuff to discuss and digest. Ingest, if you will. Anyway.
Well done.
And then we, of course, had, the World Championships as well in the competitive segment of the show. So we have to talk about that amongst, a couple of GPs and the Invitational in New Jersey. So honestly, this is a ton of stuff to talk about. So let's just dive right in with the stuff from PAX and the stuff from Battle for Zendikar. So we got a couple more mechanics spoiled that we didn't already know about. Rally, which is the update to the ally mechanic in the original Zendikar and World Wake. And basically, instead of it just affecting the other allies when another ally would come into play, it affects all of your other creatures. Which is, a strict upgrade, right? I mean, that is not necessarily exciting, and, we kind of figured it was going to be coming back since allies were coming back in general. So, yeah.
I mean, it makes sense in multiple ways. So, one, the weakness. I mean, the ally decks weren't very good the first time around. The weakness, obviously, being that you had to stick all the bad allies in there, which is, and here now you can play some other creatures, and then the allies trigger on all of them, which is nice. And from a flavor perspective, it also matters how in old Zendikar, allies would have stuck together, but now sort of everyone has to be an ally.
Yeah, everybody that's not an Eldrazi is an ally.
And even some of the Eldrazi, they're wearing hats and stuff. Oh man, we don't like them either. Rally.
Really not a fan either, but
I didn't vote for Rulabog. I mean,
not my Titan.
Really, just not a big fan of his agricultural plan. I mean, slash and burn, man. That's
Have you seen the buffet bill when he comes? It's terrible.
And he is using public funds.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Greed.
But this is...
sorry, I'm enjoying this way too much.
Yeah. So, and then we have Converge, right? That's the is that the correct name?
That is the correct name.
Okay, perfect. Converge, which basically is a scalable sort of mechanic. It the effect basically changes based on how many different colors of mana you put into something. Correct.
It's Sunburst.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. Do you want to talk about just the preview that they had?
Yeah.
With
go ahead
this?
and read the card, Dave.
So they have Radiant Flames was the card that they showed with this mechanic. It costs a 2 and a red. It's a sorcery and it has Converge, and it deals X damage to each creature, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast Radiant Flames. So basically, if you're paying all red, then it's only going to deal 1. Whereas if you're paying something like red, white, blue, it'll deal 3 to everything. So it's kind of nice that you have some control over that, and there may be some situations where you may only want to deal 2 damage so that you don't kill your own Mantis Rider.
Yeah, that's what we were discussing, or deal 1 damage to kill a bunch of their little guys, but your Jace stays alive. That's Jeskai purely. But cards like this at scale are nice, and it's also nice to see it's a little harder to cast that way, but it's nice to see that like an anger variant isn't not going to be in the format. So I like this card. It'll be interesting to see what other things to do with mechanics. It plays really well with really well and awkwardly with things like I was mentioning like Vrin's Wingmate or it's our Wingmare. That's what it is. The ones make spells cost one less, and you're like
One more.
Yeah, or one more. I don't know why I said less, but then you're like, yeah, I'll put this fourth color in. Now we're doing cool things.
So this will probably be the last mechanics. I would have to imagine.
Yeah, this well, so it's interesting you say that, and these are the mechanics because this is the actual article. Of
yeah,
the
yeah,
mechanics.
yeah, that's true.
But to me, this feels stuffed. But then this is sort of the first taste we're seeing of the new block structure because with only 2 sets and then going to the 2 block cycle, like they're going to be putting some more in. We were trying to do like planeswalker counts the other day, and we're like, oh wait, actually we have no idea how many planeswalkers that might give us because without a core set to naturally put 5 more planeswalkers in, they're going to have to seed them elsewhere. So I think this is sort of new world for everybody. We're like what you expect for mechanics and like numbers of certain types of cards, you may be thrown out the window until they figure it out.
Yeah, that's very true. So we got a bunch of new cards. We'll probably not talk about all of them, obviously, but we want to touch on some of the important ones. So some of the most important ones are the 5 new lands that we're going to be getting, and these are rare lands. They are dual lands, so they count as both land types, and they have various names. They're all allied colors, and they read blank comes into play tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands.
The best and most accurate name. People were talking about like Tango lands for these.
Tango lands.
Yeah.
The best one I saw on Twitter and the one that I'm going to stick with, these are the discount double checks. They are cheaper than shocks, and they check for 2 lands. Discount double checks. And no one can convince me there's a better name than that. So.
It's pretty good. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it works. And these obviously have a lot of people excited. They kind of have interesting implications since we have fetch lands right now, and that they're going to be really great with those. Being able to have fetchable lands that aren't basics are very nice for this kind of format. And then they may even have modern implications. Maybe not as much, but they're there.
I'm just really excited about Knight of the White Orchid being able to go get the blue-white one. Oh man! And if you cast it off of 2 planes, it even comes into play untapped.
So sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely. I also like how you talk about modern. Like, yes, these could see play in modern, but like, I think it was really hard for them to print actual dual lands that won't just make modern mana bases. Oh, modern mana base is already very good, so making them better would have been scary. Since now that we have all 10 fetches. But this doesn't do that. Like, this does not make like you can play with these if you want, and they'll be an option for players. But like I saw Dave shaking his head, I agree. I don't think they're going to do much for modern. But it was nice to like, hey, here's duels. These will be exciting, and these will not make modern disgusting. So it's nice.
Yeah, these are going to be great for standard. Definitely, some of the best cards in the set. Obviously, with the fetches from Cons of Tarkir, while those are in standard, it's going to just make your mana bases that much better. So.
Yeah, exciting. Well, good. These are solid prints. I know Stott had mentioned being excited about the cycle that was coming forth, and we were sort of like, oh, maybe it's the our filter lands, whatever. But I'm pretty excited. These are really good design space. So
yeah,
nice.
for sure. One of the next exciting cards that we have that we can take a look at is the new Ulamog. So he is, as far as we can tell, the only Eldrazi Titan that is still on Zendikar.
I definitely believe it's been definitely mentioned that the other 2 have left.
Yeah.
So
it's Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, and he costs 10 colorless mana, and he is a 10/10. And whenever you cast him, you get to exile 2 target permanents. He's indestructible, and then whenever Ulamog attacks, defending player exiles the top 20 cards of their library, which is that's a lot of cards.
That is many cards.
So obviously very expensive, but I think you're getting what you pay for in a lot of ways.
Yeah, this one's interesting in that it doesn't have the shuffle trigger that the old Eldrazi Titans had, so this one can be reanimated, though you won't get the exile effect of exiling permanents when it comes into play. But still being a 10/10 indestructible that mills them out in basically 2 attacks
is
pretty good.
It ain't bad. I don't think you'd kick that, to the curb.
Hashtag see the unwritten.
Yeah, no joke. Again, you don't get the cast trigger off that either, but
Still,
who cares?
I mean, if you're casting like your see the unwritten on like turn 4, like I don't know if you care about the cast trigger. So, pretty exciting. Like I was worried that because it doesn't feel like it, but it's been a long time since Rise of the Eldrazi, at least design wise. So I was really afraid that they were going to neuter sort of a Titan. So it's nice to see this, like yeah, it doesn't have Annihilator, so it's not, but this gets you dead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does what you want.
Yeah.
yeah. I think we may end up seeing a new style of Eldrazi green. I don't know if you guys remember that deck.
Yeah,
Like back when
the
Rise of the
Primetime
Eldrazi, it
decks.
was just like a mono green. It did have Primeval Titan, which was obviously very powerful.
Yeah, I
But
heard that's a good card.
but I mean, obviously, it was just green ramp into Eldrazi's. And I think you could see something similar. I mean, we do have a lot of green ramp spells that are going to be left over after Theros block rotates and Nykthos goes with it. So, this may be the top end for that style of deck. But we'll see what else gets spoiled here.
Yeah, and then next up we have Gideon. We finally have the official new Gideon. It feels like we just got a new Gideon, but this is still yet another
He's
one.
all grown up now.
Yeah, he's very important to this storyline. So obviously we're going to get him as a planeswalker. So it's Gideon, ally of Zendikar, and it's 2 white for a 4 loyalty planeswalker, and he has a +1 that reads until end of turn, Gideon becomes a 5/5 human soldier ally creature with indestructible. That's still a planeswalker. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to him this turn. So basically, the typical thing that you'd see from Gideon, he turns into a dude and does some battles.
And bash his face.
Yeah. And has this typical, indestructible, prevent all damage clauses, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's something that's interesting that he remains a planeswalker, but like Sarkhan becomes a dragon. So
Yeah.
it's cool how they differentiate, I suppose.
And then he has a 0, which is pretty cool. And it's just put a 2/2 white knight ally creature token onto the battlefield. So we see that when Elspeth has gone away, it looks like Gideon decided that he can suddenly make some tokens.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting that they made it create an ally token, because if you have any of the other allies in play, it'll trigger
Rally.
those.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's actually really important that he be able to do that. And it being a 2/2 is pretty significant. I think.
And it makes sense because he himself is now an ally. So
Right. Exactly.
Of Zendikar.
And I think a lot of people have been maybe underselling his ultimate because it may not be super splashy.
yeah, I wouldn't call it an ultimate, but
Okay, so yeah,
his minus ability.
Yeah,
I mean,
his-
it's been a while since he's had it. Like he doesn't usually get traditional ultimates.
That's true. That's
So-
very true. The last time he was on Gatecrash, and that's the last time he had a true ultimate.
Yeah, right.
The,
'Cause,
the minus 15
Gideon Juro did not. He just became a creature, and then
Right.
Kithian,
doesn't either. I
yeah,
don't
it
think.
becomes a creature, right?
So
So it's like
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just like he doesn't normally get to do things like this.
But he has a -4 ability, and it's you get an emblem that with all your creatures get +1/+1. So it's just Glorious Anthem.
Permanently.
Yeah.
With no way to get rid of it.
Correct.
Which is really, really gross.
Yeah, I definitely like the fact that you can actually just, if you wanted to, you could just play this and then -4 immediately.
Yeah.
Like a lot of planeswalkers, even if they have like a very low costed minus ability, usually you have to spend one turn taking it up or something. I can't think of one immediately off the top of my head.
I think this card minus the attack clause is very similar, at least in my mind, to Sorin Lord of Innistrad.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
yeah.
same sort of idea. Where,
Right.
for him,
Or-
you got to take it up if you want to minus it twice, and then you got to play that cost.
Or
game.
even, it actually reminds me somewhat of Garrick Primal Hunter, because you couldn't pull off his ultimate immediately, but you could -3 him to draw cards.
Oh, that's fair.
So he did provide immediate, effectiveness
Right.
right away. So very similar to that in maybe power level. I want to say, I don't know.
So what this screams to me is, I think maybe I'm forgetting, so I don't know, but this screams to me is that one of the few the few planeswalkers I'd want 4 of. It's designed to play well with multiples, right? Because like, if you most of the time if you have 2 of the same planeswalker in hand, yeah, they might kill the first one, so it's not. But you can actually sequence with this in mind. Like, play the first one, minus, get out of here. Play the next one,
Yeah,
So,
0, put a 3/3 into play.
It looks, if the ally deck is good and really wants a lot of Gideons, you can play all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it plays into multiple archetypes too. I mean, these abilities are good as like a control finisher, making knights, and then like having a basically a very very hard to kill 5/5, and it plays well with the aggressive decks. So I think he's a really well designed planeswalker, even if like he doesn't necessarily have a super splashy ultimate or anything like that, quote unquote ultimate. But
Right.
this is, you can tell that this is where they're going with design philosophy with planeswalkers, where they're making them have more utility and less like just splashiness. So I like it. I think he's going to be good. I don't think there's a world where he doesn't see some amount of play.
Yeah, this seems like it's definitely at its best in a token strategy.
Yeah.
And I don't think Jeskai tokens is going anywhere.
I
Post-rotation.
almost wonder if he'll break into modern tokens, in all honesty. I mean, I know that they have a lot of powerful planeswalkers, but I will never discount that deck being able to have a permanent anthem.
And you're not wrong. Elspeth does so much work with giving reach to that deck. I think it would have to definitely show itself to be significantly better,
that's true,
it
but
may
most-
be significantly better.
Most
I don't
of those
know.
times, those decks are now playing Solemn Visitor, Sword and Solemn Visitor,
Sure.
just because he gives a a huge gain, and that may even be
Lifelink, though, is
better.
also
Exactly, yeah.
important, though. So it'll be interesting. Like, I think it's definitely worth merit. So we'll see what Gideon does. But cool card.
Yeah, so those are the cards, but they also kind of did something which made a lot of people pretty excited and a lot of people very angry, which were the Zendikar Expeditions. So basically, Zendikar Expeditions is a different set. That's the best way to describe it. It's a 45-card specialty set. Think of it like as From the Vaults on crack, but these cards are going to be inside of Battle for Zendikar packs, very similar to the Hidden Treasures that they had with the initial release of Zendikar, and they are lands. So what they have basically showed us are pictures of full art fetches and full art shock lands.
Also full art discount double checks.
Correct, yes. So there's 25 of those, so assumedly it's the 10 fetches, the 10 shocks, and the 5 new lands. And they are full art lands, they have special borders, they are premium foiled. I don't know if you guys caught that or not. So I think they're actually a different foiling, so they might even be like the...
Yeah, I don't know if they're actually a different foiling. I think they're just... I mean, they don't call them foil, they just call them premium.
Yeah, premium
cards,
is the name
so,
for foil.
Yeah.
I guess. So they will be foil at the very least, and they will be about as rare as a foil mythic. So 1 in every 200 in something packs. So these are literally wizards going, we are going to put $100 bills in packs. And as the common saying goes, people would be upset if wizards did that, and they would complain about how they folded them. So obviously this got a lot of people excited, but a lot of people now suddenly are chasing these cards, which is can be frustrating, obviously, but in my opinion, it's your own choice to want to chase those sort of things.
Yeah, one thing I just wanted to clarify, you said it was 45 cards. It's going to be 25
in this
in
set.
battle, yeah, and then 20 in the next set.
Correct.
So we don't know what those ones are yet.
I think we know what 5 of them are, more than likely, because they've said in the past they don't like printing not full cycles of lands.
Right.
So I think it's not a terrible guess to assume that 5 of them are the enemy colored discount double checks, because they've said multiple times they do not print, like they want to print full cycles of cards now. So
Okay.
that is what, at least in my mind, that's what I went to first. Beyond that, I don't know, but there's a lot of room of things they could do. We were going through things on the reserve list, etc. So it'd be interesting. I do want to take a minute here though,
Yeah, sure.
and just grind just a little bit of tears.
Yeah.
Grind a little bit over the people complaining about this. Literally, like, Reddit blew up about this, our Facebook blew up about this, Twitter. People, well, goes Wizards, just trying to get value again. Oh, look, just trying to sell stuff. Yes, actually, correct. They are a company trying to make profit, so they put something exciting in the box to make you buy it. How in the world is it incorrect? You literally are doing no extra work as a player to possibly receive free extra good things, and you're upset about this. Beyond that, think of how things like this work, right? If it's a foil mythic rare, essentially, you're going to see it very, very rarely, right? Think about the experience at like a draft, right? Like if you're in a draft with like 30 people and like one person's like, "Oh, look what I opened." That is going to be the talk of the entire draft. It is going to sell more packs. It's going to make every single store that has packs happy because they're going to sell more of them. Like, how in the world is this a bad thing? Like, if you have ever in your life used a coupon for a new product that was like buy one, buy one get one free, those greedy companies got you to buy their product. How dare they? If you ever bought Cracker Jacks because of the prize in the box, you are already done complaining about this, okay? Like, it's just how this works. So
Who's buying Cracker Jacks and just dumping them out and getting the prize?
Oh man,
who's
I got
that
a tattoo.
monster?
But I mean, in all seriousness, like, I just don't understand. What is your point? Like, are you upset because you'll probably not own these? Well, too bad. I don't know what to tell you. There's a lot of things you're not going to own, okay? Remember, not my Titan, okay? So, you have to just deal with this and be happy. If you, like, the people complaining now who are like, oh, yeah, whatever, when they open one of these, they'll be like, oh, man, I'm really excited about this. Be like, oh, you're going to burn that, right? Because you're against this as a philosophy, so just light it up on fire. Let's go. I mean, that's what we get to see here.
Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense. It's like, would you rather just have them not have anything extra in there and just? I mean, I don't even think. I mean, I think the set will sell probably a little bit better, but I don't think that would have been a problem to begin with. I think like people would have been excited about the set regardless. But like, this is just a little bit extra value.
The only argument I've seen that people were upset because they announced that they weren't going to reprint Zendikar fetches in the set, and then now they're printing these promo versions. Like, well, it doesn't help with cost. You literally have to stop pretending like that matters. Wizards cannot. They cannot pretend to control the secondary market. And in the past, when they've tried, they've almost destroyed the game. Okay? They have to ignore that for the most part. They're going to print things like Modern Masters. They're going to do their best to reprint staples when they can. But they cannot just pretend like, oh, well, this card got expensive. Better print 500 of them. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't work like that. So, I don't know. I guess turn back to your pillow and continue crying because I have nothing else for you.
No, I mean, you obviously bring up a lot of good points. This is just added value. And I think a lot of people just are probably just frustrated in the fact that they are in so badly desiring these things.
Yeah.
And they're frustrated in that fact.
So like little kids who like have a crush and don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. I mean, I called her names and I pulled her hair. How does she doesn't know I like her?
Punched her in the back and she was like mad, and I was like, yeah, and they're like, I don't understand.
I don't get girls.
I will say this: if you really are upset these exist, and your philosophy is, I don't even want them, I open them. Please take every Hollowed Fountain that you open, send them care of Big Tears to Columbus, Ohio. I will make sure that they're properly disposed of.
Nice. You said $100 bills. I think these are actually going to be more than that.
They are going to be quite expensive.
I don't think the discount double checks well. I think that's your $100.
Yeah, that's like the only feel bad is like if you open one of those and you get like, oh, I got like a black-red discount double check land.
Oh, well, all right. Well,
I guess.
Hope someone wants this.
You know what? I take it all back. Now I'm mad.
So we do want to mention that they did also release the name of the next set. It's going to be Oath of the Gatewatch.
It's Magic Avengers.
Magic Power Rangers is what I've also seen.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Very much so. So they've released some promo art from that, and it shows a bunch of planeswalkers seemingly taking an oath of some persuasion.
Lisa, Jace, Chandra, Gideon. Is that it? The four? Okay. Can I just mention quickly, we've harassed Chandra and how badly Chandra's done as a personality. I love Chandra. She's my favorite planeswalker, but as a character, she's so bad. Literally just said, like, hey, Jason Gideon, go to where the Regatha or wherever she is, where she's become a teacher.
Carol Keeb.
Okay, yeah, where she's become a teacher. She didn't want to become a teacher, but she did. And they're like, hey, you remember those Eldrazi you released? You should come back and lock them back up. And she's like, nah, I'm a teacher now. I'm not about that life. Like, what? Like, you didn't
about that no more.
Like, you didn't want to be a teacher. Yeah, but I got to be a teacher. And like, what? And then like the next set, there she is. It's like, who's writing this? Oh, I know who's writing this. Come on.
Maybe, I don't know. I think red characters are probably pretty difficult to write. Maybe
They're still writing, like they're writing her like if they went to the 90s to TGIF and like we're like, all right, here's how TJF handled 13-year-old girls on television. Like this is all we know about how to write a female character who has a strong will. She'll hold her breath sometimes, and she'll be stubborn, and she'll stomp her feet, and she'll light things on fire. Sound good? Sound good to you? Can we please write real people? Like
Maybe they should contact Joss Whedon. He knows how to write strong female characters.
Can we just get Willow the Planeswalker? There's a red Planeswalker I want. Can we do that?
Yeah,
Get it done. Make me happy.
do something. So that'll be interesting. It is kind of a mouthful to say
the Gatewatch.
for a set name.
Why do they keep naming sets after gates?
I don't know. It doesn't seem to do well if we look back at history. Not the best. So I don't know.
The next set's gonna be like gated community class warfare.
But an interesting thing that's going to happen now when that comes out is how we draft that set, because it's actually going to be Oath Battle for Zendikar. And this is something that we will likely see change forever for the two set paradigm.
Per Aaron Forsythe's tweet, yes.
Yeah.
They said that was specific feedback that like when a new set comes out, you want to draft more of it. This is the structure going forward.
And they've designed with that in mind.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that totally makes sense, especially with like just the 2 set blocks now. So like if it was battle oath, so you only get 1 pack per draft of the new set, and then
It hurts the economy overall too, like
Yeah.
if just how many cards are in. So I think this is a good change.
Yeah.
It's one of those again simple things, make sense.
shakes it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
And then next up, we have a art book that was announced. So it's the Art of Zendikar. It's going to be out in January 5th, and it's going to be $39.99. But I mean, the book looks awesome. I don't know if you guys collect sort of like those kind of kitchen table books, those art books, or anything like that. But I have a couple video game ones and stuff like that, and they're very, very cool to have. So I'm excited to have one that is officially from Wizards and is centered around like the cool art. Zendikar like has really, really good art.
Oh yeah.
It's one thing I've taken away from looking back at all the Zendikar sets that I wasn't really didn't really play, but seeing the art and like seeing the new art that's coming out, it's just so good comparatively to like some of the art that we've had.
It feels like this is a long time coming too. Like,
Well-
I feel like this is something that they could have done a long time ago, but
I
haven't.
think the Kickstarter campaign.
Yes, there was
for the book. There was all the original artists that shipped, and that campaign was really successful.
Yes, correct.
And gorgeous as well. I think sort of sparked this interest. Because like not to mention if you've noticed like the Planeswalkers. The San Diego Comic-Con Planeswalkers also came with art books, and those are popular. People were trying to buy those separately from the Planeswalkers.
Yes.
So like I think this is just Wizards like paying attention. Like you know how they are. They're sort of like we don't know if there's a market for this, and now they're like, oh, there's a market. Okay, here it is.
Yeah.
So I think the cover is one of the forests, right?
Something like
I
that.
believe so.
I thought it was this forest, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
No, we don't know what that is, but it is going to be interesting. It's going to have art from the original Zendikar block, as well as art from Battle for Zendikar and art from the next set, which obviously hasn't been released yet. So
It'll be cool, like especially if they follow like the geography, because like Zendikar is one of the planes where the geography is really fleshed out pretty well.
Yeah.
So like they can show you like before and after, and like if you watch the trailer for Battle for Zendikar, they showed some of the forests where like Ulamog and stuff have gone through, and how they're like ash, but you can still see the trees and stuff. So I said I'm probably going to buy this. Like it's not something I bought in the past, but I'm pretty excited about this. It's gorgeous.
For sure, yeah. And then another thing that was announced is that Walking the Plains, they are actually making a full-length Magic documentary called Enter the Battlefield. It's currently in post-production. They actually had a short, like half-hour screening of some footage that they wanted to show to a select audience, and the people walked away from that being really, really impressed by it. So no release date on that, but hopefully it'll come by the end of the year. But I'm pretty excited about that too.
yeah, they said it won't be released by the end of the year, but they'll have a date at least by the end of the year. So I'm assuming sometime next year on that. But yeah, that's pretty exciting. I definitely would want to see that. There's actually a documentary that was being worked on years ago called I Came to Game, which they actually started filming for that at my first Pro Tour in Japan. And then so I was like excited for that to be released, and that never actually came about. Like, it just kind of died off. I don't know.
Well, personalities like you on film.
Well, I wasn't on it, but it would have been interesting to watch, seeing that I was there. But
no, that's cool. That's sad that it didn't happen. Hopefully, this one will. Looks like it's
oh
going to.
yeah, I'm pretty sure
I
it
mean,
will.
being in post production, that's probably pretty good for them.
Hey, you could still accidentally hit delete. Okay.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
And the guys that do Walking the Plains, Nathan Holt and Sean Kornhauser, I believe his name is, they do such a great job. Just the production value on Walking the Plains is just off the charts. So I would expect this to just be really, really good.
Yeah. And then some other final community news, just some quick hits, if you will. MTG Puzzle Quest was announced. This is going to be a free app for iOS and Android. If you aren't familiar, the Puzzle Quest games are either sci-fi, fantasy, match 3 games. So they're games where you match 3 of the same thing. And I'm familiar more with the actual Puzzle Quest series, and it's very based in fantasy. You cast spells when you get certain mana requirements. I assume that the Magic the Gathering one will be quite similar to that. I know that they are great games though, and the same developer that made the original Puzzle Quest games is going to be working on this. So I don't have any worries that the game would be a bad product. I do hope that it comes together because I really enjoy those games. They're really good, of that genre. If you like the match 3 genre of puzzle games, then they're very good. You should look into them.
Nice.
Next up, the November F&M promo was announced. It is Roast.
Art is insane on
Is
that too.
amazing. It is so good. So that's pretty exciting. We're in September now, so our F&M promo was Orator of Ojtai. That's bad.
Remember we had Zero Visions a week ago?
It was great, but now we have this, and it's not so great.
I like the one in between.
Yeah,
One in
Ultimate
October.
Price. Yeah,
Ultimate Price. It's like not really an exciting promo, but just the art is
The art
so
is so
awesome.
It's really good. Oh, and you know what? It feels like it's appropriately themed because it's October and
Right.
Halloween and stuff like
Isn't
that.
the flavor text is Unreal too, right? Isn't it like he paid his ultimate price, not pay me mine?
Yeah.
Or whatever?
Yes.
It's so good.
The iron price.
The Iron Price, correct. And then next up, we have some more info on leagues, and the league structure has been announced with prizes. All I know is that people were upset by this. When I read it and I look at it, being not an avid Magic Online player, but knowing what leagues provide, like I heard someone say that, complaining in sort of a complaining tone, they're like, oh, well, these are just more flexible, like 8-mans or something like that. And I thought to myself, well, isn't that what you want? To some degree?
Yeah, no, it's you're not wrong.
And I understand, like, the this isn't what people necessarily had in mind when they first wanted leagues. They wanted to make their own custom leagues, and I can't imagine that not being something they want, that Wizards wants as well. But these are baby steps, and every quote unquote new thing. I know they had leagues previously in Magic Online, and they've just been gone for forever. But this is, I'm pretty sure as far as the, team that's on Magic Online is concerned, this is a new thing. So I would want them to take it slow and easy and not necessarily try to rush things. I'm sure actually trying to have people construct their own, leagues is probably a nightmare at this point in time. I don't know. It's not my job, so I don't really know. But I think in the end, I don't know why you wouldn't want something. If this adds more flexibility to Magic Online, great. I'm sorry that the price payouts aren't necessarily fantastic, but I don't know. At some point in time, you kind of have to decide what you want out of Magic Online. If you want it to be a place where you go and you test and you enjoy playing the game of Magic, you probably have a good mindset. But I think they're trying to get the people that are there to make profit off of it, not necessarily out of the game, but make it at least a bit harder for you to do so.
Yeah, which I guess that's where my bit of frustration would be. I would disagree with that. Like, Magic Online is a platform for them. Like the best way for them to get their name out about Magic Online as a platform is to keep pushing the streamers. The stream community is definitely a competitive community, and that's where the outcry is here. Like, I would have to see the numbers. I don't really know for sure, but I know that it's definitely harder to like argue that casual Magic is the main point of Magic Online because
Well,
it's not.
I'm
You know
not,
what I mean? It's
yeah,
not.
I'm not saying that it would be the point of Magic. I'm saying that Magic Online is a tool for competitive testing.
So if it is, then like, so when I look at this, like, yeah, great. The prizes won't be insane, but when I look at this and see like, if you get 0 wins, you get 10 points. If you get 1 win, like, why are you giving prizes away for those tiny points? Why not push it up to the, like, make it competitive like people want to? And so is it like, hey, like, if you get 3 wins out of 5, you get to enter another league for free. That's it. You spend your time in the league and weren't able to do anything else. But if you get 2 wins in a 4-3-2-2 draft, then you'll get profit if you open a good card. You know what I mean? So there's this awkwardness to, like, how these feel bad. These do feel bad. But I mean, if they are bad and if they don't like it, then Wizards will hopefully tweak it. So
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, these are, like I said, the introductory stages of it. And, things can obviously be adjusted and changed. Obviously, when they do change things, it hasn't necessarily been always for the best for the dedicated Magic Online community. I don't know, Magic Online. I look at it and like to me it just always seems like a great avenue just to be like, I just want to play some games of Magic, and to be able to go online and do that. I wish that we could like communicate with someone that was like, this is how I make money, blah 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 blah. I want to know what it's like for a person on that end of the spectrum. Just because like I can't have that mindset about it. It seems like it's only a small amount of people that are actually able to do that with
right,
Magic
but it could
Online.
be more. Like, it could, like, that's the thing. I don't know with the Wizards. I think ignores maybe like they try to push like the streaming thing and like, but look at the numbers like someone like Numot gets or like Cheon gets. It's the kind of thing where it's like if you just had a good platform, like look at all the people who don't do it anymore, and they said it's because of the way that Moto is handled both as a both behind the scenes as a program, everything else. Like, I don't know. It just feels like if they're happy with what it's doing now because they're making money off of it, it's sad because it could be so much more.
Right.
But again, baby steps. This is neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Maybe someday it becomes what you want it to be. Though I suppose that's the argument for hating Moto as well.
Yeah, that's very true.
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday this will be something that everyone likes. That's not true. It'll never be that because nothing is ever that.
There'll be rainbows and
Yeah,
puppet dogs.
we're talking about Magic players. They don't like free foil fetch lands.
Nope.
So,
Full art foil
Right.
lands. Yeah, no, not at all.
I don't like the stupid border, so
Yeah, the border. Not to like
no, I
kind of backtrack.
I actually really like that.
I don't know. Like,
like
it looks
Tetris,
fine on the. It looks I like Tetris though. It looks fine on like the devoid cards, but when I see it like all around the border, I don't know. I don't. It looks weird.
So
Maybe I'll have to see it in person. I hope that I see it in person.
yeah, when I open it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Dang.
Please let me see it in person. Anyway, so that's going to be it for all of our community stuff. Let's go ahead and move into the competitive segment. So obviously we had the World Championship over the weekend. It was held in PAX in Seattle, and Seth Manfield just like decided that he was gonna turn it into turbo mode and just he X1 the Swiss. Or X1 like the entire tournament.
Yeah,
right?
no, yeah. He the story is like he lost a round on like day one. He's like, I don't want to lose again.
And he didn't.
That was it. There's no other story behind it. He just did. It just like didn't lose another game or match, I should say.
It's fairly impressive. He defeated Owen Turnwald in the finals to become the 2015 world champion.
Our notes
so.
clearly say Turnenwald. I don't know who that is.
I don't know who. Yeah, I don't know who Turnenwald.
You know what I meant.
It's all right. That's not the worst typo I've seen today. Quick side discussion. We had a work email that was sent out today, and it had misspelled September today.
Oh.
So it was like September. It was.
September ends.
It was a horrible mash of definitely September and October.
It's like
Septober?
Something silly like that.
Since we're heading into Septober now.
All right, well, Halloween's coming, October 31st.
Yeah. September. That's what it was. September. And I was like, oh, is that after August and before October? Anyway, but yeah, he Yeah, he did a really a pretty good job of dicing through this tournament. Paul Rietzel and Sam Black were also in the top four, so we had an All-American top four. Yeah, USA, bald eagles and stuff.
All I can think of is the Book of Mormon. All American.
I just gotta say, like, I was pretty shocked that Seth Manfield dominated the way he did. I can't say that I'm surprised that any of the people there won, just because, I mean, obviously you have to be very good just to even be there in the first place. And I think you could even argue that, like, the 2 years that Shahar Shanar won, he was not the favorite or anything or anywhere close to that. But just being there, you know, you're good enough to compete. So, but I just thought, you know, this is his first time playing in this tournament. And for the most part, I mean, he's been around for a little while, but he's only really been, I think this is his first year being platinum. You know what I mean? So from that perspective, it was a little bit surprising. But I gotta say, like, if you put this in a historical perspective, I think this might be the most impressive single tournament, you know, performance we've ever seen. I think the only other one that you could even argue, or I guess there's two other ones that jump to mind. I think of LSV 16-0, but he didn't win that tournament. And I think that's a big deal. That LSV 16-0 Pro Tour Swiss, and Shota Yasuoka in the first the Players Championship, he went, I believe it was 12 rounds, so he went like 11-1 in the Swiss, which at the time was super impressive. But he didn't win that tournament either. So Seth Manfield actually taking it down, I believe, puts this over the top. And also, if you didn't get a chance to watch the finals, the first four games were not that great, but Game 5 was so good.
and Manfield played it incredibly well.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen it, at least go back and watch Game 5 of the finals, because it was really, really good. Also, round 14, Paul Rietzel match was very good as well. So
very much so.
But yeah, I mean, Worlds was awesome. I watched most of the coverage. I didn't see all of the limited rounds, but I saw the constructed ones. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
All the people we predicted to win ended at 18 points, but Steve Rubin did do slightly better on tiebreakers than Sigrister Froelich, so...
Didn't win.
Did not win.
The question was who's going to win.
Did better than your two guys, though.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
correct.
It doesn't matter.
To be fair, like, look at the way the points break down. Like, it's like Seth Manfield with 39 points, and then four people with 27. So it's like head and shoulders. You know what I mean?
So much so. I mean, like,
who was the? I'm trying to find it real quick. Who was the Moto slot?
That was Magnus Lando.
That's what I thought. I was like, I say congrats there, because the last few years that's been an embarrassment slot. Like, that's been the person, like,
even when Reed Duke had it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? and I don't mean that like trust me, the embarrassment slot at the World Championship is still a pretty sweet slot. But it was nice to see, like, you just miss on breakers here, like, for top four. So nice to see someone from Moto come out and compete and put up a good result after, like, was it Budakov or was it
Laj Dam, I believe, was the one from last year.
And then before that was Budakov.
Yeah, they just weren't...
like all just real rough. So it was nice. Congrats.
Also, Martin Muller, he did pretty well for himself. He just missed out. He ended up losing in the last round to Miss. But he was 6-1 after day one, and he was, the youngest competitor there. I believe he was 16 or 17 years old. So I mean, that's pretty impressive, and he has a bright future, I think, in Magic. So we'll see what he does going forward. Unfortunately for him, he's not qualified for. All right, he didn't hit gold, so I don't think he's qualified for all the Pro Tours, which is really weird. Like, it's like you're playing in a tournament with all these platinum.
He'll get a bundle of points from this, so hopefully he can. If he has a good start to the season, he can get it for next year.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sorry, I was scrolling down. I just saw the embarrassment slot for this year, and maybe to giggle a little bit.
It was Shahar Shenhar finished second to last, and it really wasn't. I believe he 0-3 the first draft. He was never really in it.
Yeah,
which was unfortunate for him.
I definitely watched that first draft. Oh, it was rough. Oh man, it was like one of those like Modern Masters drafts where you're not in an archetype or anything like that, and it's bad. It's bad. Yeah. Now we can definitely talk about the metagame.
Yeah, it's a little skewed.
It's a high level tournament, so people will look at these numbers and kind of tilt things because they think it's where the metagame's going, but it's really inbred when we look at it, especially when we look at modern. I think modern is what makes it look like super duper inbred. So if we take a quick look at the actual breakdown, we have 6 affinity players. Now the next highest one is Living End at 4.
Yeah, that was really surprising to me.
And then 3 hexproof auras. So those are all very super interactive decks, guys. And then after that, we have black-white tokens at 2, and then everything else just has a one of. We have Abzan, red-blue Pyromancer, blue-red twin, Grixis twin, Jund, Merfolk, Teamer twin, blue-white control, and then red-white burn.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about innovations from this tournament, I think the 2 decks that you need to look at are Sean McLaren's blue-red deck. He was the blue-red Pyromancer deck, which was basically just blue-red control that played 4 Snapcaster Mage, 4 Young Pyromancer, and 4 Grim Lavamancer as the creatures. That's it.
Right.
Which is pretty interesting. I don't know that it's actually good. Probably not.
I definitely saw so he was playing against. I believe the next deck you're probably going to talk about it, which is the blue-white control deck.
Yeah, Yuya Watanabe's deck.
So watching him and Yuya play, and then turn 5 Yuya killing Sean McLaren due to his own due to Sean McLaren's own Blood Moon being in play, and then Shota taking Sean McLaren's Grim Grim
Lavamancer.
Grim Lavamancer, and then being able to shoot Sean McLaren for Xaxes
Yeah, that was it was comical.
with what's the name of the card that he took it with?
The Threads of Disloyalty.
Threads
it
of
was
Disloyalty,
really funny too.
aptly named.
Yeah, it was funny too because up to that point, the turn 3 of extra turns, Yuya only had 1 island in play, so he only had access to 1 blue mana, and then he drew the second island on turn 3, so he was able to cast the Threads on the then tapped Grim Lavamancer, and Sean McLaren was at 1 or 2 or something, so it was just like the exact turn that he needed to draw it.
It was just like poetic justice. Not that I have any grudge against Sean McLaren, but it's just like Threads of Disloyalty. He died to his own cards, all of his own cards.
Well, like the whole game, I mean, like Yuya was chipping away with like a Restoration Angel, then Sean McLaren was actually able to finally kill it like on turn 1 or turn 2 of extra turns. So it was just like
it was crazy.
Yuya was able to get him all the way down to 1, couldn't quite kill him, but then did that to finish him off.
It was one of those moments where it's like I'm glad I saw this. I'm glad I witnessed this with my eyes.
It was one of the few interactive matches we saw.
Very true.
In the modern portion.
I do have to feel like that Pyromancer deck probably had an alright affinity matchup, just like a lot of incidental, like small removal, and Lavamancer is very, very good against that deck, and they don't have a lot of removal back. So, I think I wonder. I would just. I don't think you can take anything from these decks. Like the Blue Pyromancer is a cool deck, so maybe it does have something that you could play with. But like in general, I felt bad. The one Merfolk player, I'm trying to remember who it was. I read his.
It was Andrei Strosky.
Yeah, was like discussing like one of the feature matches about how upset he was at the meta game because he was like, all right, ready to play against all these twin decks, and it's like,
where'd you go, guys?
Where have all the cowboys gone? Hey, remember when you guys really like Splinter Twin? Where are your Tassigers at, man? I don't understand. Why?
I mean, there were 3 twin lists there, and I mean, like you can take a look at those lists. Those lists are kind of just, general lists.
They're pretty stock.
And I mean, I think like if you want to look at a twin list, that is probably a good place to start. You're not doing yourself a disservice by looking at those first.
I think if you're looking for innovation, this was actually pretty sweet. We got to see it a little bit on camera. But if you look at Sam Black's Affinity deck, check out the sideboard. I'm actually pulling it up right now.
He's playing that Aether Grid.
Yeah.
You know what Stony Silence says to the Aether Grid? I don't know. Aether Grid says to Stony Silence? I don't care.
Yeah, because it's the Aether Grid that has the activated ability.
And that's...
the Gurapur, is that how you say that?
Yeah,
Gurapur Aether Grid, which seems pretty good in the mirror match. Affinity, oftentimes it's hard to get an edge in the mirror unless you're playing like a bunch of Ancient Grudges. But yeah, just like giving all your random artifacts like later in the game, like, oh, my welding jar and my springleaf drum can deal damage, like, you know, my
That's a big
Dark
game.
Steel Citadel. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty sweet. Unfortunately for him, like when I think it was the only time it was on camera, it got pithing needled, and he had another one in his hands, which was awkward. So, but yeah, it was a nice piece of technology. Did not expect to see that.
Yeah. Also, did you know the Hangerback Walker was in the modern portion of the tournament?
Oh, was it?
It was. It was in Brad Nelson's Jund list as a 3 of main deck, which I think it's definitely weird. I think it's pretty cool tech against maybe other Jund lists like Game 1, because like, you know, now your Lilianas lose a lot of value if I play this turn 1, because you actually are setting it up for just to die, basically, because I get the token, I'm going to swing over and kill it. So I think that's pretty interesting, and with the prevalence of Jund, it may be something to pick up, but I think it's also kind of weird because it opens up a lot of I want to say, like, it opens up people to like want to bring in maybe other sideboard cards against you, but I guess like if that's your only artifact, it's not really much of an incentive to really bring in like an Ancient Grudge or anything like that. So
Yeah, I can see it being actually pretty annoying against pretty good against the Grixis decks.
yeah,
as
it's
well, 'cause
very
they don't
attrition-y.
really-
Yeah.
they don't really have like a good way, like a clean way to remove it.
Yeah, I really mentioned how like there's a lot of cards that just keep getting better, like because there's just not a lot of Path to Exiles in the format. And like Hangerback Walker is the kind of card where like look at like go back a year when Blue White Red was still like running around. That card, you know, you wouldn't even have looked at it. You're like,
Yeah, it's a joke.
It's gonna get Path to Exiled, and I'm gonna put all this mana in it. But now it's like, terminate it. Go ahead. Like,
I dare you.
so I think it's really interesting, and with that in mind, like again, not a lot of actual like bruiser innovation, but the Yuya deck, like I've said this many times on here, but how good are Wrath effects in the format right now? You know what I mean? Like, look at all these decks here that just like even like Living End. Granted, Living End can go off like as an instant, you know, when they want to sometimes, but like Affinity, you know, Hexproof auras, like sometimes you just need to play a Supreme Verdict, and card puts in so much work right now.
Supreme Verdict was pretty good for this field when you're looking at Living End.
Right.
It sweeps up all them. Affinity.
Yep.
And what was the other one? Bogles.
That's it. Yeah, that's what I was just saying.
Nice. Yeah, he's playing like a not embarrassing version of Blue White, like we talked about last week. This is one that I could actually get behind. This is like a more standard version. It's got a couple of Dragon Lord Roja ties in it. It does play one Sun Titan for the value.
I mean, you gotta get the Wall Omens and Medallion Clicks and and Kitchen Sphinx and yeah, why not? And Detention Spheres, why not? So
yeah. We did see. We'll get to this in a little bit, but we did see a similar list take down the Star City Modern Premier IQ.
right.
So maybe this is a deck that we'll see pick up in popularity. I'd have to really sit and think about like the matchups where it would be good, but I mean, this could be a good. There are a subset of people out there that like playing this style of deck, and I've definitely played decks like this in the past. Maybe it's something I'll look into in the future if I ever get off of Grixis decks.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. So you want to look at standard quickly, and then we can move on from this event.
Yeah, sure. Let's take a look at the standard metagame breakdown here. And we see Jeskai with an overwhelming amount of 7 people playing it, then followed by Abzan and Control and Esper Dragons both having 5 people play them. And then we have Hangerback Abzan with 3. Then Atarka Red with 2, Red-Green Dragons with 1, and then White Devotion played by Sam Black as 1. So apparently people thought to bring some Stormbreath Dragons to the party to try to combat some Hangerback Abzan. As well as even like Esper Dragons is really good typically against the Abzan aggro lists, and Abzan Control tuned correctly is also very good. And we even saw that in the the finals where the both finalists were playing Abzan Control, and only slight variations between the two lists really.
Yeah, I was gonna say I learned a couple things from the decks that showed up in Standard. So the first thing I learned is that the White Devotion deck is for real. So this is, I guess, very similar to what Craig Wesco played in the WMCQ week before.
Yep.
And also that deck is probably not a good choice going forward, because if you watch Sam Black play against Seth Manfield in the top 4, it was a bloodbath. Like, it was not close. Sam managed to get a game because Seth got stuck on lands one game, but that was the only game he won. The other games were not close.
It's interesting that Sam Black would make the choice then to play this deck with that matchup against that deck. Like, if you want to do well, sure, but if you want to win, it's interesting. So
I don't know. Maybe he felt like just the matchups against every other deck was
good enough.
was good, or
Yeah.
it's possible that like he could catch some people a little bit by surprise. I mean, the list was kind of out there because of the WMCQ,
Right,
but
right.
maybe like people hadn't tested against it and whatnot. But like once you get to the top 4 in the deck list, or I mean the deck list the entire time were all public,
Right,
but
right,
once you
right.
get to the top 4, you have that they had a day off in between, so you can test the matchup, figure out what your board plan is going to be. You just have a lot more preparation to deal with something like that.
Right.
So, I mean, it's certainly something different and it looks fun, but if it has that bad of a matchup against Abzan Control, I don't know how much I can recommend it.
And
Yeah, I
I mean,
don't know.
like, he could have just, miscalled metagame, expected a lot more of deck, X instead of Abzan Control, so.
Yeah, like just the metagame in general, like at Worlds, like we said, it's just so weird, and it's kind of inbred just because it's such a small field. But like you had multiple people talk about like, okay, well, what's like the level 1 deck, and then like, okay, well, what beats the the level 1 deck? What's the level 2 deck? And like, okay, I'm gonna play the level 3 deck, so I'm gonna play the deck that beats. And it's like, nope, just Abzan Control was probably the level 1 deck. It's like, no, it's still just the best. Doesn't matter. as we saw with them playing in the finals in the mirror match. But
Well, I mean, Siege Rhino, it's a heck of a magic card, as it turns out. So,
Is it good?
I mean, yeah, you're a recent convert, so
Yeah,
Yeah,
card's
I mean-
really good.
I've been a believer for a while in that card. So I've cast that card in Modern to
don't
great
think I was
success.
I don't think I was ever not a believer. Like, cards succeed, but it just continues to, like, every time you think, like, maybe, like, even look at the Jeskai deck, like, maybe we've got a way to, oh, no, it's just still just Siege Rhinos, so.
All right. Well, that was the World Championships again. Congrats to Seth Manfield. Shahar, sorry you couldn't be the three-peat. Sorry.
we don't even know if Shahar will ever make it back.
Yeah,
He doesn't have that automatic invite
That
anymore.
is the question.
I hope he does, but
Of course.
Maybe
of
he's got to
course.
get hungry again. Maybe that's what happened.
That's true. He got to be.
This is like, so, like,
he's been coasting for 2
well,
years.
it's like Rocky 1, Rocky 2, like, you find, and then Rocky 3 is the one where he loses, right, to Clubber Lang, because he doesn't have the heart anymore, and he has to go train with Apollo Creed. So, maybe Shahar's got to go run across some beaches and, like, train with Apollo Creed, and then...
like literally
Hey.
find someone named
Hey,
Apollo Creed
Yeah,
to train.
no, it's all right. Shahar, I'll be your Apollo Creed. We can Rocky train together.
Oh man, I really like if he was just like,
We do
is your
awkward
name,
hugs.
Is your name Apollo Creed? No? Alright, sorry for bothering you. Is your name Apollo Creed? No? Sorry for bothering you.
Oh man, too funny. Anyway, let's move on to the Invitational. So, Invitational was held in Somerset, New Jersey. It was standard in Legacy, and it had a total of 618 players. It was won by Alex Bastecki, playing Grixis Delver. And he battled back from an 0-2 start in the finals, which is crazy, and he defeated Stephen Mann. Other notable top people who top eighted, I should say, were Gerard Fabiano, and then former Invitational champion and notable Goblin token, Eric Smith.
I kind of feel bad for SCG from a coverage standpoint because I felt like it was just completely overshadowed by not only just the World Championships but just everything that was going on at PAX. With all the Battlefields.
Hey, the invitation's
happening.
happening.
Yeah.
Did you see Ulamog? Because, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't know what you guys did, but I literally didn't watch a minute of the Invitational. I didn't really have any interest in it.
I mean, half Legacy, not interested in watching any of the Legacy.
Right.
I didn't do
Top
much.
8 was Legacy, so I watched a little bit of it because it was on before the Worlds stuff was on, so I didn't really caught that. But I mean, it obviously was your par for the course for Star City Games coverage.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it was still great coverage, and the people that wanted to watch Legacy, and you got an alternative. Maybe you didn't have any interest in watching the Abzan Mirrors.
Yeah.
And Standard.
You did have some Delver mirrors though, so
Yeah, there were a bunch of Delver decks in the top 8. So.
So much Delver. There's 5 Delver decks in the top 8.
Yeah.
Dear Lord.
And there were a lot of, as far as like the 7-1, better standard lists, a lot of abs and aggro showing up in those lists as well. So the deck is still here to stay. And again, this is something you might want to take a look at comparatively to the world's list, because these 7-1 or better lists came from 8 rounds of
a
standard.
more open metagame.
Yes, correct.
This is more our speed as well. Like
Yeah.
this is like for us grinders. Like this is more what we're gonna play
You're not
against.
metagaming to beat a bunch of Hall of Famers.
Yes, correct. So now in conjunction, did you guys? I don't know. Typically, this information doesn't come out. Do we know what token he's going to make?
I've not seen.
See, if I was him, I'd snap make that 2/2 Night Ally. Snap make it. Just already ready. Like they announced it already, and it's just like a perfect time to like strike.
The token will be out before the set.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
Like you just get a pile of them ready.
Perfect.
When you open Gideon
perfect.
extra release.
That's pretty sweet. That's not a bad plan.
That or the Thopter token, which is also a difficult one.
Or an Eldrazi Scion.
Oh, or that. That's true.
Oh,
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. Yeah, so the spawns are all growed up.
Correct.
They're no longer Eldrazi spawns. They're Eldrazi scions, which they still sacrifice for a colorless, but they're now 1/1s instead of 0/1s. So they're actually you can attack with them.
Yeah. They can trade with a Sapperling. There you go. Correct.
Oh man, yeah. I think I'd be the Eldrazi just because I'd be such terrifying, like a terrifying visage.
Oh yeah. So he had plenty of good options. I don't know. Maybe I'll try to research it and get back to you guys. But hopefully he got it all figured out.
So I'm looking at these 7-1 or better standard lists from the Invitational, and the one that really jumps out at me is this mono red Thopters deck.
Yeah, I
You guys
saw
see
that.
So it's definitely Hangback Walkers, Monastery Swiftspear, Thopter Engineer, Pia and Kiran Nalar, 1 Zergo. That's just playing a bunch of burn spells, essentially. Like,
Yeah, I was
alright.
scrolling past that.
Oh,
It was
4
definitely
Shrapnel Blast
interesting.
being in there.
Yeah, of course. Gotta have the shrapnel blast.
I mean, Shrapnel Blast is. I mean, if you can support it, the card does really, really gross things.
But maybe there's something to this, though. This is played by James White. I'm not familiar with him, but it's definitely a cool and innovative list, like something I did not expect to see. And going 7-1 at an Invitational, in standard is legit. So
Yeah, it's pretty significant. So if you're looking to play something a little bit rogue, a little bit interesting, next standard tournament, we've got a PPTQ coming up. Maybe take a look at this. Seems pretty sweet. Next up, let's take a look at the Standard Open. It was won by Robert Sabol playing Jeskai Aggro. So that deck, had a pretty good weekend. Other notables in the top 8 were Ellie Cassis playing Abs and Rally, Kevin Jones playing none other than Jeskai Aggro. The man doesn't know. He bleeds red, white, and blue, but for a different reason. And
America.
and then Chris
Just stop
Anderson
there.
playing Green Red Devotion,
of course.
which makes sense. He's always playing Green X Devotion. There was also a 17th place list playing playing Jeskai Tutelage. It was piloted by Joseph Scalacco, I'm going to say.
Scalco? maybe?
Scalco?
Scalco,
I'm
I
not
think is
sure.
it.
But yeah, this list was pretty. So Jeskai Tutelage, I was like, what's this all about? So if you look at this list, it's very similar to the blue-red tutelage list that Michael Majors won GP San Diego with, and the deck that who am I thinking of? Andrew Cuneo
Yeah.
Yeah.
played at the Pro Tour. So it's very very similar. It does have a little bit of white to touch for Jeskai Ascendancy, you know what I mean, which is pretty sweet with tutelage. Just,
Doesn't seem bad.
charge those up even more. Definitely plays 1 End Hostilities main and a couple of Swift Reckonings as well, which is decent spot removal. But the most interesting thing about this deck is the sideboard. So the sideboard is 1 Jeskai Ascendancy that only plays 3 in the main, 4 Raise the Alarm, 4 Dragon Fodder, 2 Secure the Waste, 4 Stoke the Flame. So you just go full transformational board. I'm assuming you just board out all your Anger of the Gods and your hostilities and everything, and that's pretty awesome. I love myself a transformational board. You know, it's you are kind of running that gambit there of not having specific cards for decks that you plan on facing, but just being able to catch people off guard. Like maybe if you win game one, everybody's going to side out. They're going to side out their spot removal. They're going to side out. If they're playing main deck Languish or something like that, and board that out because that's useless against you. And then you just board in a bunch of tokens, and you get your Jeskai Ascendancy going. It's like, I don't know, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely unique. I don't know how much I can still get behind these decks that are focusing so hard on one enchantment. You know what I mean? Like this one being tutelage and ascendancy is interesting, but like, God, there's still so many commands. Like there's just so many commands. So like, I don't know. This I mean I like it. I definitely like the idea of the deck, but I definitely think like I don't. I know you said like going into game threes with this deck, like you'd be like, oh well, which way do I board? Which way do I board?
Yeah.
And I think like. I don't think I'd be worried about that. I'm like, well, okay, well, I'm going to present the best 70 or the best 60 that my deck can present, and like think of like even like Abzan aggro, like this deck would require a pretty specific start. You know what I mean? Like would have to have that Jeskai Ascendancy, and you not to have a command to have a chance, because that's where tokens lies. And then like if it's tutelage, and I know tutelage is fine against Abzan aggro, I get that, but it's interesting.
Well, yeah, but like if you're Abzan aggro, right, and you're playing something like Drown in Sorrow in your sideboard, it's like, do you keep that in for game three?
I mean, I'm not. Abzan aggro's not playing.
Not playing Drown in Sorrow?
No, not at all. Hasn't at all.
Well, it has in the past.
It has in the past.
Like-
That's
All right. Well,
correct.
all right. Well, in any case, like, what's a card you would play against tokens?
I
Just nothing.
I don't have any. I don't have Bio Blitz. Like the problem is that the tokens are such bad creatures against your entire deck that you just don't care. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
So they obviously did well, but I do think like the second this is a known like thought, and like you can just like present like, oh, I was gonna do this. Like there's definitely like the transformational board has to be good enough. Like I think like the Mardu decks, like where the cards are powerful enough that the transformational board you were still just presenting a lot of powerful cards. Here you're still just presenting powerful enchantments and a lot of card draw and doing the old cross the fingers, which is why I stopped playing Ascendancy in the first place.
Yeah, but I think where you see the transformational board be the most impactful is when you have just like two completely different game plans.
Sure.
So like, because even if you have like a similar game plan, like there are cards that will work against both, and I think there are very few cards that would be great. I guess Dramoka's Command being one of them that is good against both sides of this. But other than that, there isn't a whole lot of crossover there as far as hate cards. Against this, so.
And you're right. I mean, again, I'm trying to like the deck is definitely interesting, but I don't know. I don't know. I wonder. I feel like this was more a flash in the pan with this, but that could also be because like it's shown that the tutelage deck is not the most like it's an interesting deck, but it's not been the most resilient deck in the meta. So it's like so the argument is like maybe this is what it needed to get back, or was this just like a guy taking a transformation sideboard and spiking?
Yeah.
So,
Well, in any case, it's definitely a sweet list.
yeah, no, it's definitely sweet.
Who
Like,
knows if we'll see it going
good
forward,
on you
but,
for doing this because like you are far braver than I am. Far braver.
We also have Dan Musser showing up, coming in at 20th, playing Elf Rally, which is Abzan colors, and you're playing things like Dwight and Elite, Elvish Visionary, Elvish Mystic, and Shaman of the Pack, as well as Rally the Ancestors. So you're just trying to kind of combo people out. You also have Siege Rhino still, so that's still a pretty good card as it turns out. And this actually is pretty cool.
It does seem pretty cool. I wonder how similar this is to because I know that who was it? Alex Hayne won the Canadian WMCQ.
Right. I know,
with an elf rally deck. I don't know how similar it was.
I'm not sure. Like I know the list I was familiar with was Eric Rill's list, but he was playing it like Team Sabertooth.
Right.
And
Yeah,
so
his was just green black, and it was more like a devotion shell.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
Which he did a deck tech for that deck at the Invitational. So
Oh, nice.
if you're interested in seeing what that's all about, you can go check that out.
But yeah, so shout out to Dan Musser. Congrats on your 20th place. You should have done better. I don't know what to tell you. Moving on, let's take a look at the modern IQ. There's actually a lot of stuff that I want to talk about here. No, just kidding.
Gonna go take a nap.
Yeah. It was won by Blue White Control, piloted by Daniel V. I'm not saying his last name. I'm going to deprive you all from that joy.
Villa Miser?
Sure.
Okay.
And we already discussed this. It was, kind of similar to the list that we saw at Worlds. Were there any notable, sort of differences between the two lists?
The one thing I will say is that I don't know
No Ojutais?
no, it just I don't know how I feel about playing signets in this list. Now, as someone who plays a lot of signets in my blue white control deck, playing just like the two random signets scares me a lot because like I feel like you turn on like you'll keep hands that like turn on otherwise meh Culligan's commands where all of a sudden it's just like, oh yeah, set you back like 2 cards and you're just like, oh, and you don't have to do that. So I don't know like how much worse it would be like to play like the 27th land if you really wanted to for a control deck and then play like a Thought Scour or something. So
Yeah.
but I like this kind of decks. Like I definitely like these dirtly stuff, and I think some of the cards like I think Gideon Jura and like any of these planeswalkers that are 4 mana or greater are just so difficult to cleanly remove in Modern right now. Like Abrupt Decay can't touch them. There's no downfalls or Dreadbores running around.
Like the best you have is Maelstrom Pulse.
Yeah.
He's active play.
Yeah, and it's like a one of like
Yeah.
so like a lot of times if you stick a Jace like and tick it up like it's going to take a lot of lightning bolts to kill it. It's pretty good. So I definitely like that. I like these builds. It'd be interesting to see like if they keep doing well, like how they would hold up if it switches back to like combo or the mana decks or like the fast land decks. So I'm glad to see it win though.
For sure. Now, another trend we see here is that there are like 4 Jund lists in the top 16. Now, Jund can waver from week to week, but we've kind of had back-to-back weeks where it's shown itself to be fairly powerful again. Now these lists vary card to card. We don't see any Abbots, I don't believe, in any of these lists, which kind of makes me sad. I wanted that tech to kind of keep going. I thought it was pretty sweet. But we see Yuya Takahashi being second place, and then Matthew Tickle, right? I'm saying his name right. I know that I have definitely mispronounced his last name at least once. And then the last one we have is in 6th and then 10th. Last 2 we have, excuse me. So I mean, that's the one through point that we have here, is that we have those, and then everything else is just what you typically see: a couple Abs and Company lists in the top 16, a single blue-red twin list, a Grixis Delver showing up again in 8th place, which is significant. We haven't necessarily seen that be in Modern as much as people have been kind of flocking towards Control, or even Twin over Delver.
Yeah, and if you're I guess I don't know what I was trying to say there.
Good job.
No,
proud of you.
This list, I believe, is Caleb Durward's most up-to-date list from the videos he released on Channel Fireball. So I myself like to keep up on all the different lists out there for Grixis Delver, since that's what I play. So that's how I know that. But
So you got like a 9 screen set up at your house, just like
which version are we playing this week? The sideboard's a little different, but yeah, you're right. It hasn't shown up as many top 8s. It's been around like the top 16, stuff like that.
It never goes away, but it wavers.
Yeah, for some reason it never wins. I don't know why.
Well, apparently you just did it once, and that's all that was needed. Apparently.
Yeah.
We also do see a couple more of the Niagara lists, which are the the Collected Company lists, showing up here with Night of the Reliquary. So these, I know that Joseph Herrera released an article that was talking about how he did very well with Jund because he had a lot of wraths. So he had 2 angers and 2 damnations, and he said that was really the clutch in his success, because he was able to easily deal with these Collected Company lists. And I know that they're fairly popular here in the Midwest. It's where Riley Curran lives, and he can't play Pod because it's still banned, so he has to play something else abusive in those colors. And you have noted many times that Wraths are very good in Modern.
Yeah, they're really good. They're really good.
Since you play 3, 4, 3? 3?
Well, 3 with 4 ways to guarantee you get to play one.
Right, exactly. So if these, continue to be fairly popular, it may be something that you want to prepare for in your lists the way that you best can. Not all lists can actually have the versatility of being able to play a Wrath, so.
I think see the continued downswing of the combo decks that we had mentioned, the Amulet Bloom and Grishol brand deck. You don't have any in the top 16 here.
You do have
Yeah.
Storm in the top 8, right? Or no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I actually clicked on the
Legacy.
My bad. I lied. No Storm.
Oh, that would be more surprising
Yeah, it
in
would.
Modern
Sorry.
than anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you were mentioning with Wrath, so the combo deck's kind of falling off. You just have a bunch of creature decks essentially.
And then
So,
two really dirty control decks. You see Jeskai control return as well.
That's very true.
Playing 4 Electrolyze. Like, how prepared was he for Birds of Paradise this weekend? Like, yeah, please play some Birds of Paradise. I am begging you to play some Birds of Paradise
Yeah,
because I am
apparently.
going to pick them off over and over.
It's so weird to me to see no Tron and no Bloom and just see a bunch of Jund midrange. In all honesty, that's notably like that deck's worst matchup. What do you guys think is now in the metagame that is basically punishing those two decks now? Are they just easily hated out? Which, I mean, doesn't feel like it's the case.
I still
but-
feel like Bloom is a deck that's difficult enough to play that it would deter you. You know what I mean? Like you can play that deck that's like really difficult to like it has powerful cards but really hard to sequence them correctly. Or you can play Jund that has really powerful cards but every line of play is also powerful.
yeah, Burn is actually quite good against Jund, but we don't really see a lot of those either. I don't know, like
It's just so weird.
Well, I think Burn has definitely had an issue with so many of the company decks as well. I mean, there's so many decks running around that just have infinite kitchen finks. That card is just a beating because like not only is it obviously gaining incremental life, but like it's hard to kill cleanly for those decks, and it just attacks. It attacks for 3, and like you have so many creature decks like that, which can all of a sudden like not to like they can like play their creatures that blank a spell in your hand. Kitchen Finks literally reads like blank 1 if not 2 spells depending on how it goes, and then like they put a clock on you. So I think that's definitely led to the burn deck sort of falling off a little bit. They just Kitchen Finks. I remember playing any of the red decks like the burn deck or even like the red green stompy deck and just be like, yeah, feeling good. You cast Kitchen Finks.
Yeah.
Well, that slows me down a bit. Like, I was like, you don't even feel good if you could do like Searing Blaze it. Like think about it. It's just like, disgusting. So,
Yeah.
I think the metagame's an interesting spot. It could swing at any time, and it could just be like what players wanted to play after playing in the Invitational. Like any, like who knows. So, I feel like a lot of the major tournaments this weekend, like their metagames may also be like a little skewed just based on like player fatigue or who's there. It's interesting.
I suppose. I mean, like, this is the biggest tournament that we have to look towards before we go to Cincy. Basically, this is our most recent update on the metagame besides
Right.
Magic Online. Knowing that, what do you expect? What do you expect for Cincy? I'm not necessarily. If you do you expect anything to change drastically?
No, I expect this. I expect this format. I expect a lot of Jund mid range and still a lot of
Well,
Grixis.
it's Ohio, so there'll be more
And
company
then collect the
decks.
company, yeah.
Yeah,
So.
correct. All right, fair enough. Fair
They all,
enough.
they all get together in groups of 6, and then 2 of them out of the 6 will top 8.
Pretty much. I see what you did there.
Yeah, okay, good.
Okay, I mean, I just kind of want to give people an idea. I know people will probably be coming in for the Cincinnati Open and want to know what we expect to see. And if it's just more of this, it's just more of this. So I guess prepare for that. And to me, if that's the case, then it feels like it'd be a good weekend for things like, Tron. So, I don't know. That's just my opinion. I'm sure that's what you're hoping for. Maybe.
Good weekend for me, and no one else plays Greentron. Yes, that is what I'm hoping for.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Everyone just keep making your collected company decks like breed into each other, and like try to kill each other, and just ignore me. Ignore me and my Ugins and my Wrath Effects and my Elish
I
Norns.
mean, you're even like nice regular blue-white control deck, brah. Like,
yeah, the control decks.
oh, you don't
too,
have
like,
20
cool.
mana? Oh, sucks for you.
Oh, your Sphinx's Rev was for 3. That's adorable.
That's great. You
That's-
really tried.
Like, I'll tap these 3 lands, and
Honestly, the win condition there is just always Emrakul. It's like cool. You did some cool things for the game. We both played land drops, but now I'm going to cast Emrakul. So was nice knowing you.
Yeah, that's pretty much the hard lock.
There was a Legacy IQ. It was won by Lands, piloted by Alex
Well, every deck
Lorenz.
plays lands. I guess not dredge maybe. But.
Yeah, but this is
How do you
like
kill with just lands?
well, there's one land that if you remove all the counters from it, becomes a 20/20 destructible flyer creature.
Oh, but
That
that's
sounds
not
dark.
a land.
It is not a flyer.
Hunter, does it fly?
It flies.
Yep, it flies.
Yeah, yeah, it's Marilage, man.
Giant fish.
It's
This is why. Never mind.
that's it. If you want to know more about, unless you guys want to talk about something in particular about any of these lists,
No, I'm legacied out.
yeah, me too. I feel like
There
sorry,
definitely was less Delver in this top 8. But
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's Legacy. Look
I
at
guess-
the list if you want to.
So, okay, I do want to mention something because I got
Alright.
the reason I got confused when I looked because I opened up both of the 5Ks is because the 9th place deck in Legacy is Espermentor, and when I saw that name, I assumed I was looking at the modern list for a second.
Yeah,
Deck is pretty interesting though because it's playing Monastery Mentor's Jace Vryn's Prodigy Tassiger.
That's very shaman.
This is and like 4 Dick through time. This is a standard deck. Well, with brainstorms and duels and Deathray Shamans and I actually really like this deck though. Like I love a deck that says 4 Monastery Mentor and 4 and 3 Cabal Therapy. Like those, like yeah, we're
Yeah.
friends.
you know what you're doing.
This is also piloted by Eric English, who's won multiple
yeah.
opens and
definitely a
legacy
competent
IQs.
player.
So
I wonder how the Jace was formed. It's a one of it, but I wonder.
It sneaks in there. It's showing up as one ofs or stuff like that in modern.
But
And
I just,
Legacy
like-
is interesting to see.
This deck also has Jace the Mind Sculptor, so that means like literally he was like, you know what, I'd be okay having this Jace in here too. Like I'm not comparing the two cards, but I'm also kind of comparing the two cards. Where it's like you actively made the decision in Legacy that like you're okay with having both, and that's fine.
4 mana is a lot.
Yeah, it
like in
is.
Legacy, it's a lot when you have just a format full of wastelands and. Maybe
Yeah. One thing this deck
we
doesn't
kinda
do is
joked-
play around Wasteland ever.
Yeah, we kind of joked about it last week about Jace Vryn's Prodigy is only 2 mana and the other one's 4. It's like, well, that actually is kind of like a legit argument. But
God, it's playing Factor Fiction too. Man, I want to play this deck now.
I didn't even see that. That's hot. I think that's just like dig through time
This
number
18
5.
land deck is playing 2 4-drops, and I just don't know how that's even.
Man, what a crazy world we live in. All right. Onto the GPs. Now, we didn't mention these, but they did happen.
Who knew?
Yeah, like it was completely overshadowed by the World Championship. But
Seems like an odd choice, especially like this month, September. There's only 2 GPs the whole month,
that's so weird.
but I think
Makes
it's more
no
because
sense.
they have WMCQs. But
Yeah, probably.
maybe this is the only day that they could fit those in.
Maybe. So this was GP Prague. It was standard, and there was a total of 1,464 players there. Pretty sizable number. It was taken down by Elliot Boussard, playing Black Red Dragons, which is fairly interesting. Not something that we see all the time. But there were definitely a whole bunch of abs and aggro.
Yeah, this deck must be sick against abs and aggro.
In honesty, it would be surprising. Typically, Mardu has had a decent matchup against the abs and aggro lists, so
Yeah,
it's
so-
not surprising to see something like this that's a bit more streamlined. And
It's also playing main deck Magma Sprays.
Yeah. So the metagame breakdown. So there were 178 total players in day 2, and there were 52 hangerback abs in a deck. So it was 29.2% of the field on day 2, which is absurd for a format that has been pretty healthy. I mean, you see Abzan usually wins.
Yeah.
But as far as like diversity, it's usually like a nice
I mean,
mix.
if this truly, and I'm not saying it is, but if this is truly an indication, like I feel like this deck is busted, and even the decks I've seen that are like supposed to beat it, like even the Abzan control decks, like hasn't consistently felt like that's always the case. So like, if for some reason this Hangerback Abzan deck really is the kind of deck that can hold a 20% share of a format by itself, at least we're like 3 weeks away from rotation.
yeah, that's very true. Now we've also noted that this deck doesn't necessarily lose a lot of stuff. It loses its mana base,
It
which is
loses like Fleeceman Lions and mana bases, so like it will be the same deck, but it does have a lot of powerful cards still for sure.
oh yeah.
Right. Also, the number 2 most played deck on day 2 was a little surprising to me. Mono Red. I mean, Mono Red's kind of hung around as it always does, but I was a little surprised to see that over something like Abzan Control or Jeskai.
Or even like Esper Dragons. Like I think that's like that's quietly shown that like it does beat up on some of these Abzan decks and can beat them. And like you saw like how well it showed at Worlds, which again inbred, but like here like that's just a deck out of all of these that I'm surprised hasn't seen a little more play. It could just be like that it doesn't like playing against the decks it definitely loses to, and like Mono Red, like look at that percentage, like that's still a rough matchup for that deck, but it's interesting.
So we had 17 total Mono Reds, but also 6 Artarka Reds. So I mean it's a good amount.
I wonder if there are goblins as well. I wonder. Yeah, and 2 goblins decks. I mean, that's
which
Mono
are all
Red as well.
they all play very similarly.
Right.
You know, but interesting.
Oh yeah, I mean, for sure, very interesting. Of course, this is European metagame, so things are a bit different than what we would expect to see in your open series and stuff like that. So
I'm sorry. There's got to be some sort of really like specific joke about like that part of Europe and like so many people wanting to play like tiny war machines that make flying war machines. Like right, like
yeah, sure. Anyway, I don't. What? Why?
because like they're giant steampunk machines. It's just like I've seen this movie.
All right, I think it's getting late. I don't know.
Next up, we have GP Santiago, which was Magic Origins Limited. It was won by Rodrigo Lopez defeating Tomohiro Saito in the finals. Because
That's like very random.
it's so
I
random.
was just like, well, fine. If I can't play in Worlds, guess I'm gonna go spike this GP.
Yeah.
So yeah, congrats to Saito on his finals finish. That's pretty impressive. I was like, oh, you're just in the finals. Oh, okay, Saito, do whatever you
I
want.
was like, where in the world is Tomohiro Saito?
At least he wasn't like trying to make out with a cardboard cutout of Chandra
that we know of.
That we know of.
Yeah, no verifiable proof, no pictures or anything like that. So who knows? All right, well that's all the competitive stuff. Let's wrap.
This is a man, a lot of stuff
It's
this
just
week.
so much stuff.
So much stuff.
We still have stuff to talk about for the weekend.
Before we move on to that, I just want to say like that probably was one of the craziest, most packed like Magic weekends of all time, right? Like
a lot
you
of
just
stuff
had
to deconstruct.
everything.
I mean, there's stuff that we didn't even talk about, in all honesty. So I would encourage you to explore. But there was stuff like, you got to see how your pre-release boxes are going to look like today, and they're like deck boxes, but that's pretty cool. They look pretty
with
cool.
dice containers and everything.
Yeah, and like there's a whole bunch of there was like the world building panel, which is actually really interesting, and there was some cool stuff that came out in that. Just a ton of stuff. There was actually an R&D panel, I believe, where they talked about some of the stuff where they started for Battle for Zendikar and like where they ended, and just a bunch of stuff that happened over the weekend. So if you haven't like really done a deep dive into the pack stuff, I fully encourage you to do so.
I think like the awkward thing is too like for all the stuff that was going on, like none of us actually played Magic.
Oh no,
last
no.
weekend.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was an unfortunate thing that sometimes just happens. You just get busy, got stuff to do.
I moved
Yeah,
and
you had to
Morgan
get
helped
Mike
me.
you had to get Mike into the new Casa de Mike.
But we're casting here. It's pretty nice.
Casa de Tears.
Casa de Tears. But this weekend we're definitely playing Magic. But before we get to that, we do want to we do want to let you guys know that the second WMCQ is happening. It's hosted by Channel Fireball in Santa Clara, California, and it's going to be modern. So it's going to be pretty awesome.
And all the people in this part of the country should fly to that part of the country to play modern.
Please, as
Just
many
get
of
out.
you as you possibly can. And again, if you want to give us a Thalia promo that you received there, I would greatly appreciate it. You can email us, and I'll give you an address to mail it to. If you hate it, I'll destroy it. And if you just want to give me a gift, I'll appreciate it.
You can put them in the same sleeve as the Zendikar, whatever alternate art.
Yeah, there you go.
holocrons.
That you send to me.
Yeah. Well, you can just send it.
We'll take care of it.
We'll sort it out.
Yeah,
So
we'll take care of them.
I definitely like how you just like definitely gave everyone away for like a stalker to like get your address. Just be like, hey, I heard you wanted a Thalia promo. Hook me up with that address, and then just be
Oh.
like, Oh, I should not have given that address out.
I said a address. I didn't say my address. There's a difference.
What is this P.O. box garbage?
We also have the Star City Games open in Cincinnati, and that is also modern, and we will be attending. At least Mike and I will be. Dave, I'm sorry that you will not be there.
I'm gonna have to sit this one out, unfortunately.
Well, we'll try to do you justice. Mike will try to do you justice.
Appreciate it.
I totally have a buy. That's the sweetest part.
Yes.
Never
This is
used
a
a buy.
buy?
I won one of the open trials. Definitely never used my buy. So, sweet value.
Nice.
As far as what we're planning on playing, I have access to Twin and Jund, and I have to make that decision. And I feel like that's a pretty difficult one to make.
You've been making a lot of progress, Morgan. You've shifted over into the blue cards. Just stay the path.
I think so. I think that, and then the decision to play what variation, basically. I think I might just want to play just streamlined blue red. I think being with the mindset of wanting just to combo and be the fastest at doing that is probably going to be a pretty good thing. And we do see in the Premier IQ the only twin list is blue red, so I think that might be swinging back into that being more popular and more viable in the metagame. So
I would argue that if the World Championship metagame has any effect on this metagame, I would not want to be without Culligan's commands. So, but it's fair either way. So.
it's true, and I imagine that you are on the blue-white Tron plane.
I am currently on the blue-white Tron plan. I've considered if I got any idea that I'll have Twin with me. So if I just wander around the room and just all of a sudden see like a million people just having amulet blooms in play, I was like, oh well, maybe we gotta swap here. So I have been stupid top level podcast had me brewing with Mardu Mentor this week, which the deck is actually really, really fun to test. I don't think I would take it to an open and just try it out though, but got me brewing, which I haven't done in a while in that format. I've enjoyed Tron so much I've gotten sort of lazy with it. So, but I think that's where I'm going to be. So
fair enough.
Will be the last 3 events that I have registered that deck and top aided with. I have not changed a single card in the 75. I do think I will be changing 2 or 3 cards. So progress, I guess.
Fair enough. Again, with the metagame, we expect to see sort of the same thing, I guess. So I can't imagine things shifting too badly. But much like Mike, I will also have Jund with me as well. So if I decide that
you never go into a Poke Battle with just one Pokemon.
No,
you gotta get that backup in case the other one faints. That's what it is.
Exactly. And then there are 2 PPTQs in the general vicinity, both in Pennsylvania. Saturday, there's one a game tour in Erie, PA, and then at Phantom of the Attic in Pittsburgh. Both are standard.
Game Core I've heard of before, and I've heard good things about them.
Yeah.
I've never heard of Phantom of the Attic, but Phantom of the Attic, but that's a sweet name for a game store. So
Yeah.
just based on principle, you should go check that store out.
Most
So
certainly.
yes, if you don't travel to Cincinnati, and I guess you're in that part of the country, then there
Go
you
for it.
Yeah.
Those are the ones obviously closest to us here in Columbus. So, and then as a reminder, though, speaking of Columbus, there is going to be a Premier 5K
Another one.
that is hosted by Comic Town, and it is going to have a PPTQ as a side event as well. So, plenty of options for you to go and play Magic on the 12th of September. Both events will be standard, and the IQ will pay out the top 32, and there will also be exclusive playmats for the top 16, so that's pretty awesome. I think both of us, if I go, I'm planning on playing the PPTQ.
Yeah, I think we're all considering that.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually going to this one. I don't know. I haven't decided which one I want to play in yet. I'm not as confident in standard as I am in modern, so I don't know if I want to go all in on the PPTQ because I kind of feel like it's all or nothing.
Yeah, no,
For that,
I definitely don't disagree with that sentiment. I just feel like I don't know. I feel like I want to really want to queue for an RPTQ this season. So that's mainly where my focus is. Going to the Open, like I'm going because it's obviously local enough, basically. So there's no reason not to go. But I definitely want to set my sights on trying to get to the RPTQ, especially since I have a deck that's really good and I really enjoy playing it. Like it makes it a whole lot easier than like kind of being lost in standard. So
Like me.
yeah, yeah, basically. But yeah, we'll hopefully we'll see you guys either in Cincy or we'll see you guys in Columbus the next week. So we will be there though. But just so you guys know, we have a Twitter. It's at your instep, so go ahead, follow us on there. We always tweet out when the show goes up, so that's an easy way to download the show as soon as possible. We have a website at yourinstep.com. It's also where you can find all of our recently released shows as well as our new ones. Also on MTGcast and on iTunes. So plenty of ways to get the show. We have an email address. It's at yourinstep@gmail.com. So if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to write us. And that's pretty much it for this week. We'll catch you guys next time. You have a great one. Bye.